Good evening, viewers. It's good to be back. Hope you are doing great, staying purposeful, and keeping very healthy. So, today we're going to have a slightly different topic about. I want to talk to people, men, particularly men in their 20s. How often have, let's say, people who are in 40s have kind of recollected at that epiphany moment where, oh, I wish I could have done this in the past, in my 20s, 30s, etc., but you didn't do, and things that you probably picked up quite late in your life, and then you probably thought to yourself that I wish I had kind of got there a little earlier, right? So I just want to talk to people in their 20s, maybe early 20s, mid 20s, and give them some tips on some habits that men ideally should learn in their 20s before it's too late, right? So let's start with that. Okay, I've just written them down, so let's go one by one. It's going to take some time, but stay along. It's going to be pretty interesting, right? Okay, number one, build discipline. I can't really stress enough on this, more on this. This is probably the number one aspect that you need to learn to build. It could be as simple as making your bed. It could be about waking up at a certain time, sleeping at a certain time, but build a discipline of some form, because you can always count on discipline to carry you forward in a life that's going to be excruciatingly hard as you grow. This is the only thing that will keep you going, not motivation, not anything else. So embrace this, learn to be disciplined. It's very difficult, and the problem with not building it early in life is that it becomes extremely hard to build it much later in your life. Not that it can't be, um, but the earlier you do in your 20s, much better. Just to give a perspective, I don't think I was very disciplined when I was young in my 20s. Kind of had a very careless attitude. You tend to think, oh, life is really long, nothing will affect you, doing stupid things, annoying stuffs, etc., wasting time without carrying a dam in the world. That's how, we're kind of careless in our 20s. That happens to a lot of them, a lot of us. It's okay, but build discipline of some form. It'll really carry you to face all the tribulations that you will definitely face in future, right? Number two, prioritize your health, and by health, I'm saying physical and mental. Right? They have to be hand in hand. At one, you cannot have just one and ignore the other. It's just not possible. And in fact, this is a kind of one question that a lot of people have doubts about. Let's say you have to have a strong mind. A strong mind cannot reside in a weak body. You have to have a strong body to have a strong mind. But how do you really push yourself to start that first step? Let's say to physical fitness. What comes first, the physical one or the mental one? I would probably argue that it starts with that mental push to get physical, and then the physical one relays back, acts as a feedback loop to make you mentally very, very strong. And the sooner you start and understand this, the better for you. Again, don't delay this. When I say physical health, mental health, prioritize this. Avoid your, I mean, of course you will party, you will do a bunch of things, drinking, partying. These days it's more of vaping or potting, etc. Keep that to an absolute minimum. If possible, stop or reduce it, but keep it to absolute minimum. If you still have to, again, I'm not judging you, I've done every mistake, which is why I'm able to tell you. You will not get any browning points for being in a group just because you have to smoke or drink. You can still be a part of group without doing that. uh, but if at all people are forcing you that you'll be a part of a group only if you do this, probably it's not the right group for you. Again, prioritize this. This is kind of an investment, right? Much like your financial part, which number three, which I'll come to. I would rate this as much higher than your financial outcome in life, because this will kind of directly have a correlation or a higher impact on your happiness and purpose in life as you grow older and older, right? So don't ignore this, which could be regular exercise and training, cardios, physical activities, meditations, yogas, bunch of things. I'm sure we can do a separate podcast on that, but you know what I mean by health, right? It includes eating clean food, avoiding processed foods, ultra processed foods, everything, etc. Okay, great. Let's go to number three, financial discipline. I mean, it again ties back to the point number one of general discipline in life, but financial discipline is extremely important. You're going to face some hardships, right? You will lose jobs. you will get fired. The market will change dramatically. You may not be able to earn as much as you are able to do, or somebody might fall ill, leading you to spend a little more than you anticipated. Suddenly, the house prices might increase. You may not be able to pay a couple of months of EMIs. These things happen to everyone in life. It's just not new. So just be prepared for it. Don't think that everything is going to be rosy and spend all the money that you have today and just live for today. Be a little disciplined. Make sure as much as compounding on your health, there is an investment required in terms of going to the gym, working out, other physical activities. Make sure you're quite disciplined financially. If you know you're not a disciplined person, maybe you should find a financial advisor. There are many good ones in this world, fortunately. Talk to them, transfer, let's say, about 15 to 20% or even more of your salary to them on the first or second day of the month itself, the day you get your salary, so that you don't get tempted to overspend. And make sure he invests in the right channels, maybe mutual funds and equity and bunch of other things that will give you good returns and compound over time, right? Every 6 7 years the money typically multiplies by I think 7 years or something, at a nominal interest rate. So make sure he does the job for you, and then he gets paid for it, so which is fine. Don't forget financial discipline. It's not that it'll make you happy, but it'll at least put you out of a bit of a misery, which will happen in life. Okay, number four. This one is again very important, which I was also not very good at, but I've consciously worked on improving. And number four is communicating effectively or articulating very effectively, right? So here, this just not about the fluency of the language, or the kind of hard words or esoteric words that you want to use. Yes, of course you can prepare for those GRE words, etc. It makes you look smart, maybe. But that apart, all I'm saying is to be able to communicate effectively helps you grow in life. It can be in your personal life, it can be in your career. If you actually look at it, out of, let's say, 16 to 17 hours that you're awake, almost 50 to 60% of the time you're communicating in some form, right? You're talking to someone, or you're writing to someone, and you're reading something. It could be emails, or conversations, or some kind of a presentation. Ultimately, it's all about communicating with your peers, friends, spouses, or sorry, not spouses, spouse, kids, parents, etc., friends, all of that, right? So learn how to communicate effectively. Fortunately, this is a skill that you can uh, build even if you're not good at. In India, of course, not all of us are very well versed with English. It's not a native language to us, but we've learned it as part of our school curriculum and by being in the corporate world. But this is a very easily learnable language. In fact, I was very poor in English when I was in school in Madurai, because we were used to speaking in Tamil all the time. But over a period of time, I had put in conscious effort, things like these podcasts where I struggle to even communicate clearly. I do it every week, irrespective of what the outcome is going to be. And that's the only way I can improve my communication skills. Again, when I say communication, it's not just about the fluency, it's about communicating the point that you actually have in mind. Most people struggle to do that. You may think that, oh, what's the big deal about it? Just think for yourself. How many times have you struggled to even communicate what you had in mind? Right? You have. Yeah, so this will happen. You will struggle to communicate sometimes at office, with your spouse, with your girlfriend, etc. So men, you have to learn this art. Don't be that try to be that nice guy who avoids the difficult conversations like I used to do. Just say it out, right? I'm not saying be rude to people, but at the same time you should be strong enough to just tell what you have in mind. Um, don't ignore this. It has a lot of let's say negative health consequences to you if you don't express what you have. It doesn't mean you think of somebody as a, I don't know, bad words, a whole kind of a thing. You just don't call it out, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, let's say you had to express something to your wife or your girlfriend or your boss or your colleague. Just say it out in a respectful manner. Don't hold it inside and acquiesce or do something that you didn't want to do. That's exactly what I'm trying to say, right? And in most of these situations, you have to trust your gut. The first instinct, your body will tell you that you're not comfortable. Let's say paying bribes against you, right? And in your job or in your role, you're forced to do that by your boss or your colleague. If you think you're not the right person for it, just call it out and step out. Don't do that, right? This one example. So this is very important. And learning to communicate well is not very hard. There's a lot of courses available, but again, it comes with a lot of practice. Okay, cool. Number five, finding a purpose. Now, this is a question, it's more of a philosophical question, right? Thing. Like a lot of people say, oh, what is my purpose in life? Uh, it's okay if you don't know, right? I mean, most people even don't know at 50s or 60s, but eventually, and the funny thing is, this can also change with time. In your 20s, it could be about getting the right job, and after getting the right job, it could be moving into a, let's say, senior position over time by working hard, and then you could be looking at, oh, I need to settle down and have a family. Okay, it could be finding a girl, right? Uh, your priorities might change with time. When I say purpose, you can just decide that, oh, I want to be a great father or a mother or a great footballer or a cricketer, whatever it is, right? You figure it out, and these things will change in time. Maybe it could be contribution to society in some form, being a great I don't know, orator or a writer. It could be small things that you have for yourself which will change, but having these kind of small purposes will give you a lot of purpose in life, right? Or kind of meaning to your life. And when you have nothing else going, which the hard times which are going to come by pretty soon, you will know these kind of purposes will keep you going, right? For example, when I had a very tough time in my life couple of years ago, in let's say 2022, the thing that I really liked doing was writing, and then I started writing a lot excessively just to get myself out of it. And things just take a dramatic turn after that. You just won't know it at this age, but trust me that if you find two three good purposes in life, it will keep you going, even if the outcome is not as great as you desire it to be, right? The same thing, for example, as few years back, I was doing my startup in an aggressive manner. I kind of ignored my family, friends, everything for about 5 6 years, immersed myself into it completely all the time. Yes, it didn't do well, right? It didn't succeed as I thought it should, but it's okay. The company is still alive. I'm running it part time with some engineers, but it gave me a lot of purpose, right? I solved problems for a lot of restaurants who were struggling with managing their cost of goods, food costs, etc. Okay, more on the startup and entrepreneurship later. Great. Let me go through the other points quickly. It's already 12 minutes. I already covered about communication and expressing yourself without fear. Yeah, don't bottle up your emotion. If you have something in mind, go tell it out. This will harm you in the long run. Trust your instinct. It could be that beautiful girl that you liked and you never had the balls to go and talk to her or ask her out. Do that. I mean, it doesn't matter what she says. Of course, these days you have a lot of posh acts and laws favoring women in our country. So be a little careful. But most women are actually genuine. They like genuine compliments. Don't be creepy. But if you like someone, just go and say. I mean, and it applies to your be the same thing at work with your spouse. Don't keep things inside and say it out while being very respectful, right? That keep that in mind. Okay, meaningful relationships. This is very important. So I'm going to go a little deep into this and say that when I say meaningful relationships, it should the first thing should be your family, and the second thing should be your friends, right? Particularly for a man, you need to have good friends. The quantity doesn't matter. Quality of your relationships with your friends really matter. So I have a few friends from college. They're still very, very friendly to me, and they know that I'll be there for them at the drop of hat. You just call me and say you're in trouble. It doesn't matter if you're in Seattle or New Jersey or Austin or wherever you are, or Dubai or in India. I will be there for some of these guys, and the same way I know some of them will be there for you. And this takes time. And here you have to be genuinely interested in somebody's well-being. Don't try to strike relationships just for your selfishness. It won't last. It will just break and make you look like a fool, right? Be very genuinely concerned about people, which means you are good at heart, you mean well for your friend. You will start making good meaningful relationships which will keep you happy more than anything, right? Not just they're not going to come and it's not just for coming and bailing you out of difficult situations, or you got arrested because you did drugs, and don't expect them to come and bail you out, right? Even I can't do that, right? But yeah, you're going to be there for them in terms of in any situations that requires assistance and help. Next one, learning self-defense. I grew up as a very thin, what do you call, clumsy, frail kid. Pretty much, even when I was 26, 27 years old, when I got married, I was probably 43, 44 kgs. I mean, you can't imagine how thin I was. Um, and I never felt confident that as a man, right? I mean, this is something that I feel. And now, about a couple of weeks back, I joined MMA classes. This is more from, again, building the discipline and fitness point of view that I joined. I would recommend that if you're a guy in your 20s, early 20s, mid 20s, start this early. This will actually more than the physical aspects of it. It will give you enough confidence to defend yourself in terms of trouble, or anything that can happen in India. It happens a lot, particularly in Bangalore, road rage, etc. It's better to be prepared. And more than that, it's the mental angle and the mental calmness that it will give you, apart from the physical benefits in terms of health, right? So self defense in any form, I don't know, maybe jiu-jitsu, karate, MMA, whatever is your interest, try and learn this for a year or two. I don't know, I'll probably do a separate podcast on how my experiences after some time, but I think this is something that I want meant to do. I'm going to make my son learn this anyway after a few years. Okay, next one, number 9. Impulse control. Okay, this is a little different. When I say what do I mean by impulse control, I'm not saying, oh, don't be angry at all. That's all stupid. Anger is just one of those emotions that people have, so it will happen. Otherwise you're not a human, right? When I say impulse control, at least for a man, I'll just give you two tips. One is learn to control your hunger and sexual hunger. These are the only two things that you need to control: craving for food and your what do you call, lust for women, right? Or I know this is normal for most men, but try and control this. And this, again, these things can be achieved with a little bit of practice. I'm not saying in your 20s don't. I'm not saying that you shouldn't flirt, you shouldn't have physical relationships with a girl that you like. I'm not saying that at all. Or just try and avoid, watching too much of pornography, or thinking that sleeping with 100 women will make you a Don Juan or a Genghis Khan Jr. That's not how life is going to be. You need to be able to have some kind of control over your hunger and also food. These two things are or hunger and sex. These two things will really help you lead a very contentful, great life over long term. And in fact, on the contrary to what you think, it will also help you get the best of women to be your partners, because women love men with good sexual discipline. Next, family time. Spend a lot of time with your family. Yes, your friends are there, are going to be there for you, but you have to spend a lot of time with your family, your parents, your spouse, I don't know, girlfriend, whatever it is going to be. Spend a lot of time with your relatives, etc. These things will help you, particularly if you're a man who's married. Make sure you're giving enough time to your wife, and if you have kids, more time with your kids as well. This is very important. They are the only ones who are with you most of the time, so take care of them and don't ignore them. Okay, great. Next 2 3 points, I have practice vulnerability. This is something, people think that being vulnerable is being weak. Actually, it is not. And I learned this from Robert Greene, and a lot of times I figured that just being a little honest and being vulnerable with the right person, of course, is actually quite empowering and sexy, I would say, right? A lot of us, I mean, just think of it. Otherwise, it's very difficult to even form good relationships. Most of the relationships, friendships that you form in life, where or are going, or is probably an outcome of you being vulnerable, or having some vulnerable overtures over a period of time, that you probably went out of the way to help him or her, and she or he did the same to you, and you probably emoted a little bit more than you did with some other people. That's why you started having that bit of connect. Now in today's world, if everyone has that bit of ego that, oh, I don't care, let him come and do that hard work for me to become friendly. That doesn't work. It's okay if you make that effort. You don't lose anything in the long life. These things don't really matter. You be the person who makes the effort. When you if you really like someone and you think you might have a good connect, it's okay to be a little bit vulnerable, but don't do it with the wrong person. Of course, be a little careful. And again, here, one thing that I want you to keep in mind is, even if you're vulnerable with the wrong person, you should the other person should know that he or she shouldn't take advantage of you, which means you have a lot of weapon in your armory to be able to even show your weakness, right? Otherwise, there's no point in expressing your weaknesses with that person. So be a little bit careful, but it's okay to practice vulnerability. In fact, it's quite beautiful. I've done that a lot, and it helps me. Lifelong learning, yeah, just a simple one. Just world is constantly changing. You have to learn new skills or go very deep into some skill that you think is right for you. It can be anything, right? You could be a wonderful carpenter, for example, or a gardener. It can be a great coder, whatever your calling is in life. Please try and go very deep into it, not at a superficial level, and be open to learning. The minute you think that you know everything, you're pretty much done. That's not how the world is. In fact, most of us don't know, let's say 99% of what's happening in the world. There's enough things to learn, so keep an open mind, whether at work or in your personal life. Okay, this one is extremely crucial. Point number 13, take time. At least in today's generation, this is extremely critical. Uh, it didn't affect people of our generation as much compared to the current generation. Take time to find the right girl for you, right? This is all the laws in India, right from 490 domestic violence and rape case, molestations, every damn thing is favoring women. So there's a lot of bad apples out there. Most of them are okay, but quite a few bad apples are there. Be a little careful in choosing the right girl. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to tell in this episode on how to identify a good girl. Probably we can do it later, but take your time. This can make or break you. Imagine, right? I mean, you have a career, you have a lot of stress at work in the first place. You don't really want to come home and fight another battle. It's just not possible for a man. So you should find a girl who's quite supportive and complements what the goal that you're trying to have in your life. So don't make mistakes here. Take time to find the right partner. Okay, last one. After that, it's going to be a wrap. Don't be mean to anyone. This basically, I'm just trying. Don't try to be an a-hole to people, right? That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of times in our 20s and 30s, we tend to be mean. We are rude to a lot of people unnecessarily. I don't think it warrants. I think just being kind. I'm not saying if you're not kind to someone, just don't be rude, right? Uh, some of these words that you blurt out just can't be taken back. And if you think you've made a mistake by being hurtful to someone at work or wherever you live, be apologetic and say sorry. And that kind of heals things a little bit. I would say try and avoid that. But if you've done it, say apologize and make up for it. And don't be mean to people. People will go through a lot of shit in life, particularly in their mid 30s and till about early 40s. Life is a struggle. You don't want to be mean to people to make them feel even worse on that day. So, uh, these are, I think, that's pretty much what I had to say. It's become a much longer video than I initially planned for, but I'm happy I was able to cover a lot of important points that I think is absolutely vital that you learn in your 20s. Now, again, I've probably told about 13 or 14 points now. Don't worry if you're not able to do all of it. These are not like some uh, what set or frozen tenets that you should absolutely follow in your 20s to be successful or anything. There's just some basic principles that I thought was useful for me, or things that I learned over a period of time in my 40s, that I thought would be more useful and practical for men in their 20s to start practicing, which will probably help be in good stead to face the life as you go, right? Whether in your career or personal lives, right? So pretty much it. Let me know what you think. I hope these some of these tips were useful for you. If you want me to expand on some of these topics, we can do that in the comments or in, let's say, the next podcast. I'll see you next week with some other interesting topic. Until then, see you. Bye. Have a great day.